Well, Janusz Michallik, how do you fancy spending some Newcastle United money on some new players? Fancy that?
Yes, let's do it, right? We're good at it. We know nothing about it, but we're good at it.
Let's start with Kieran Trippier. He might be 31, but you know what you're getting from him. And I think with that deal looking like it's pretty close, this isn't Newcastle signing players for the future. This is them signing players so they don't get relegated this season.
And I think that's exactly what they what they need right now, right? If you Eddie Howe, I think if you look at Newcastle, they've got enough going forward, right? I mean, there's a lot of talk, and I think you and I will touch about it. Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, does that make sense? I think that's not the part of the pitch that they need help immediately. I think there is enough there, but they certainly have to take care of some issues they have in the back, right? And one of them is Kieran Trippier. I mean, very much two-way player, very good defensively. I think in terms of deliveries, right, going forward, very much two-way player. When you look at Callum Wilson, and even say Maximin or Joelinton, who's been kind of playing a little bit better, right? He was tremendous in that match against Manchester United. And Joe Willock, when he's healthy, I think he can give you something. I look at Kieran Trippier, and for sure it's one of the players that would take eyes closed. Although we have to say that Maikio's been pretty good for them as well.
Yeah, look, Trippier's he's being signed to start, and I think it puts to bed those people that would suggest, yeah, but would he go to Newcastle? He's leaving the defending champions in La Liga. Granted, they're not playing that well, but he's leaving a potential Champions League matchup in the knockout stages against Manchester United. Yes, he's being paid a fortune to go to Newcastle, but does this tell you that Newcastle now, even if they have to overpay for players, are serious contenders to sign players in this January transfer window?
I think they are. I think if you look at Trippier, he's coming back to the Premier League, which I think, he needed the time in La Liga, and it's paid dividends for him, right? He can rediscover himself in the Premier League. I think they will sign players. The reason he's probably one of the reasons he's coming back, he's probably been sold on the project, a project that will not start. I mean, maybe he's the start of that project, but will continue to build over the years and over the next couple, 2 or 3 transfer windows. So, I mean, if he's coming in, and let's say Digne comes in, which of course he's been in the rumor mill as well on the other side, on the left-hand side. I mean, imagine that, 2 players, both ways, no problems. We've talked about service from Trippier. Digne, very capable of that as well. That would tell me that Newcastle are really serious, and that would also tell me that they are making the right moves. Proven players who know the Premier League, come in, no adjustment needed, and I think Newcastle benefits from them.
We've spoken on another segment for ESPN FC about the unlikely nature of Philippe Coutinho perhaps joining Newcastle, simply because it'll take too long to get him up to speed. Newcastle, as you quite rightly said, need players that are going to hit the ground running. But another player from overseas that they've been linked with, the Samuel Umtiti, and that would be an addition of a defensive rock. Do they need Samuel Umtiti? Would he do a job at Newcastle?
I think he could. There's question marks, just like Coutinho, Umtiti, in terms of health and how he's playing. I think the name that I like more for Newcastle that I have seen is the young Sven Botman. Now, yeah. Counterintuitive in terms of what we're saying, because he's 21 years old, obviously has never played in the Premier League. But I think, that would be one for the future and for now as well, because I think at Lille, he has shown already that he's playing way beyond his 21 years old. I know that Milan are in the fight for that. I think there's 30 million euros mentioned. I think maybe for Botman, the destination is Milan. At least that's what he wants. But if I'm Newcastle, I pay over the odds. That's nothing. 30. If they have to pay 35 million for Botman, Dutch international, I take him eyes closed.
What about a couple of Welsh stars? Aaron Ramsey today has pretty much been told he's not surplus to requirement, but they would sell him. And Gareth Bale, still playing in Spain. Either of those two fit what Newcastle want to do?
Yeah, I'm done with Gareth Bale, to be quite honest. I mean, I haven't seen enough. I'm just absolutely done. I mean, he's going to ask for crazy money, which, on one hand you say Newcastle have, but there's still financial fair play. You have to look at his longevity. No, with Ramsey, almost the same, but I think, he'd come on a free, wouldn't he? Right. I mean, if he does what he does for Wales, but again, you have to ask questions. If is he capable of coming in January and giving you what you need 10, 12, 15 games straight? Those are the players that we'll look for. But I'd be much more open to Ramsey, I suppose, that little extra creativity that I think Newcastle needs, right? I mean, that's the position that I would say, yes, I'm going to take a risk on that. With Gareth Bale, I think they have enough going forward.
You mentioned the word risk. How big a risk would it be for Aubameyang to go to Newcastle or for Newcastle to want Aubameyang?
Oh, massive. Discipline issues away at AFCON right now. Yeah, what's happening right now, you need positivity. Although, it's one that maybe, just maybe, you take away what we're seeing about Aubameyang and all that negativity, and maybe he sees that as, what, I'll prove you wrong, Mikel Arteta and Arsenal. So sometimes that can pay dividends, but is it enough to pay what is it, around £350,000 a week? I mean, let's be honest here. I know they have the money, but I think it would be silly for Newcastle United right now to just go and splash that money, because you've got to have a plan, longer term plan. And would Aubameyang be part of that? Not for me.
I'm glad you ended with that, because the last question I have for you, and you and I both know Italian football, having covered it for years, Juventus kind of got stuck in a let's build for now, let's get a Champions League team out now so we can win that. Down the road for Newcastle, and this is where it's very difficult, because they cannot afford to go down with the financial costs that would be. But they can't afford to have a squad full of 30-somethings that have got no sell-on value and stop talented youngsters from in the future. So how do they stay in the top flight, add to their squad, but make sure they've got a plan in place going forward?
That's what I mean. If I'm Newcastle United, I avoid the risk. Aubameyang, Ramsey, certainly a risk, right? I mean, I go for now. And for now, to me, Kieran Trippier, one, Digne, if available, and if Everton wants to sell, I get that. That's the most important thing, because they're going to pay dividends almost immediately right now. Maybe a central midfielder, maybe, just maybe, a cover. If they can find somebody of value that can deliver immediately as a striker, I would probably look at that. But defensively, that's the first thing. And if they just did Digne and Trippier, I think that's enough for them to stay up.
Well, you can have all the money in the world, but you need a good bit of fortune as well. And Callum Wilson and Alan St. Maximin, players like that who've been hurt of late, they've got to hope they can stay fit as well as add to the squad in a hope that they can stave off relegation.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.